there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk about today is probably the one shot in golf people come to me to work on their technique to cure more than anything else, and it's the slice. Okay, so what we're going to go through today is go through three key things. One, understand what a slice is. Two, understand the areas that could be causing this problem. We're going to go through a number of things that could be causing that, and then how do we cure it? And that's the key thing we're looking for. At the end of it, how do we cure this slice? So what is a slice? I think that's the starting point. And what we've got to understand is a slice is a golf shot that basically we are hitting the golf ball as a right-handed golfer. So everything I do here, if you're a left-handed golfer, just reverse it. As a right-handed golfer, the golf ball is going to spin in the air quite dramatically and miss the target to the right of the target. And I think that's the important thing to understand. So what am I doing in the shot? And the biggest thing for me, what I find is when you get out on the golf course with people, you start to ask them, what do they want to do with the shot? So the starting point for me always is, what do you want the golf ball to do? The golf ball is the thing you knock around the golf course. And situation is most people say, well, I want to hit the ball straight, but I slice the ball. So what am I actually doing when I slice that golf ball? Now, there's a couple of things that I think are really important to understand. We'll talk a little bit about slicing. We'll talk about drawing and hooking as well in a minute. And understand that anytime you get the golf ball up in the air, it has backspin on it. Doesn't matter if you're drawing the ball, hooking it, fading, slicing. If the ball gets airborne, flies through the air a certain amount of time, you have put backspin on the ball. So people often come to me and say, I want to get rid of the slice. I want to create topspin and hit a draw. Okay, if you're hitting topspin on your golf ball, you are basically putting the ball into the ground. So topspin is not a good thing when you're looking to play a shot down a golf hole. So that's important. That's the starting point. So every shot we're playing has backspin. Now what happens to cause a slice is your golf ball is spinning backwards. And then what happens is basically what we call it now, rather than side spin, we call it spin axis. Around the axis of that ball, it's spinning sideways. So the easiest way to think about that, if your golf ball is curving, it's spinning like that. Think of like an aeroplane. Aeroplane's flying dead straight, the wings are like that. If we now tilt the wings that way, that's the golf ball now spinning that way, the golf ball would curve that way. If the wings were tilted that way, it would spin that way, and the golf ball would end up over there. So in golf, what we're doing, if we're hitting that slice, we are starting that ball probably a little bit left of intended target, and then by the time it finishes, it's moving off to the right of target. And what's really important to understand, what causes that to happen, and it's only one thing, it's how that club head strikes the ball. So for me, golf is about, number one, the ball. Number two, what do I need to do with the club head? So relative to my target line, we'll use the white line here as the target line to start with. If I was playing a shot, I want the club, if I want to hit a dead straight shot, I want the golf club to swing on the correct angle into the shot, and the club face would be nice and square going towards the intended target. For the golf ball to end up right of target, my club face, as it's making contact with what would be the ball, is it's now pointing to the right of target. And what's happening is, to get the spin on the ball, the swing is going left of where the club face is pointing. And that's what now creates that spin axis. And we're going to show you today what could be causing that problem. Okay, so the biggest fault we see with golfers, if we go back to our target line there, the red line would be the swing. So the swing looks like it's coming this way into the golf ball. And then what we do is we open the face up, and that creates that spin axis. So that's the number one point. If you didn't realize that's why you were slicing the ball, relative to the way the club is deriving at the ball, the club face is open. Hopefully now you realize what's going on. And if we want to hit a straight shot, we now need to find a way to square the club face back up to the path. And then relative to the path is the path now going towards the intended target. And that's what we're going to look at. So we're going to look at the biggest areas I think cause the problems. And I think we're going to look at 4 parts of your setup that could be causing that club head to come in back to the ball incorrectly to cause that spin. And what's interesting is we're going to show you that if you think by creating a drawer's position that will solve the slice, What I've noticed on the golf course is it actually could be causing the problem. We'll explain that as we go along. So it looks the right idea to do, but it's how you understand it. That's the key thing. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will understand why you're creating the slice and how you can get rid of it. So we've mentioned straight away, the most important thing that hits the ball is the club head. And what we've got to make sure is that club face relative to the intended target is aiming where you want to go, and then we make a swing that's going that way. If that club face is open, pointing to the right relative to the path, you're now going to create that left to right spin on the ball, and the ball's going to spin that way. So the biggest thing we tend to look at is we start looking at the technique of the swing, but start at the beginning. The beginning is your setup, and we're going to look at 4 things. Number 1, simply, are you aiming the golf club correctly? It could be as simple as that. You might have a very good golf swing, but your playing partners might say to you, well, you look like you're aiming your club that way. So you could be putting that club on the ground behind the ball, and straight away before you've played the shot, and we're just highlighting it with this plank, the club face could look like that. And that looks the simplest thing in the world. Solve that, put the club on the ground correctly. And why I'm using something like a little hybrid here today is when you sit a hybrid on its flat bottom, it sits correctly. It will do what you want it to do straight away. Okay, now amazingly, we've talked about an open face. That looks like the only reason that would go right. But I now see, I've got my own YouTube channel, and the biggest thing I see now, people saying to stop slicing the ball is close the face of the club. And because I spend the majority of my time on the golf course with people, I see this is actually just a bigger fault, having the club face closed at the beginning as having it open at the beginning. And actually I'd say it's even a bigger fault, and it causes more slices than you'd ever believe. And it's all because of what you're seeing and what you're thinking when you look down at that club. So what I now see a lot of the time is people, and there are videos out there, and I'm not saying it doesn't work for them, okay, because they're professionals and they've got ideas that work for them, but they will close the face down. Now, subconsciously, the golf club now is aiming left of target. So unless I now change that, I'm going to go left. Or I make a swing that matches up to that, I'm going to go left. So what I see a lot of golfers do, they close the face down, and then as they swing the club, they start to then open the club face up, and guess what happens? Now we're creating the left to right spin axis that we don't want on the ball. So start neutral. This is the key thing. Everything we're going to talk about today is get it neutral, give you a chance. So number 1, when you put that club on the ground, if you see it open, get it neutral. If you see it closed, get it neutral. Because if you start that way, that's the way, in my case here, Titleist have designed this golf club. It can now work for me. That's the important thing to understand. If I close it or open it, I'm now using the club in a way it wasn't designed to work. So that looks like the simplest thing, but I tell you what, these first 2 things we're going to talk about, aiming the club and then your grip, are probably 50% of the time it solves the slice. Okay, but amazingly, that's a lot more than people think. People wouldn't think that's important, but it's the club that hits the ball, get it right at the beginning. So we've mentioned the grip. How important is that? Now, what we tend to think about, again, a slice, is you'd have what we call a weak grip. Now, weak grip means, as a right-handed golfer, as I hold the golf club, there's a neutral position. I would now have my hands positioned more round. As I look at it as the golfer, you'll be looking the opposite on the camera there, to the left side of the grip. And what happens now, if it comes back to the neutral position, the club face opens. So again, we'll look at that relative to our white line. So again, you can see these things. If my hands are too far around to the left, when I bring them back to the neutral position, that opens up. And again, it's quite a common thing. People think if I put my hands more over this way, it will close the face. But that's not how you're made. You're not made that way. So what happens is you relax, and it now opens the club up. But as we said, with the aiming of the club, here's actually the biggest fault. People think, right, I'll go stronger. If I now grip the club a lot stronger, that definitely won't open the club up. But what do we get? We now get a feeling that the club face is closed, which looks a good thing. Well, that will stop the slice. But as we mentioned earlier, if it looks like that, what are you going to do? You're going to start to open the face up. So find a neutral grip. Have a look at one of my previous videos. It's simply a 2-minute tip how to get your grip right. And we just did a very simple exercise where you took your grip, you shut your eyes, and then as you relaxed, you found where you naturally, how you're holding that club. And if suddenly that club looks a bit closed or a little bit open, restart the grip, do it again until you get that club face in a neutral position. But please have a look at that video, because you'll find that that relationship between your hands is the only link between you and the club. If it's right, it's going to make it so much easier. So amazingly, I'd say even more than 50% of the reason why people slice the ball is, one, they don't aim their club correctly, or two, they don't hold the club correctly. And then you're starting to manipulate and counteract things. So now we come on to the third thing, and this is the alignment of the body. And again, if you're a slicer of the golf ball, it's very easy to do the first fault. And that is, here's our target line, is what people start to do with their feet, is they aim their feet more to the left. So what do you think that's going to do to encourage the swing to do? It's going to swing left. Are you wanting to go left? No, you're wanting to go straight. So what happens now is, if I'm aiming my body that way, naturally now as I swing the club, I'm going to start opening the club face up. And guess what? We're creating that spin axis, that left to right spin on the ball again. So as much as you can, get your stance as neutral as you can. We're back to this word, neutral, and your feet should run parallel to where you want to go. That's the neutral position. People tend to think, oh, I've got to get my feet aiming at the target. No, it's the club that swings to the target. Your body should be running parallel to that to, again, keep as neutral position as we can. But here we go, like we did on the aim of the club and we did on the grip. Here's the next fault in the alignment. What do people start doing? They start aiming right because they understand swinging left is going to slice it. They start aiming right. What do? The club face is still at fault. It's going miles right. So now they start swinging over the top. And guess what? The swing's going left. We open the club face and we're back to square one. So the important thing that we're looking for all the time is to get things, as we can at the start, neutral. So there's three of those sort of setup points. We're going to look at one final thing on the setup, and that's ball position. And what people tend to do is they look at it and they think, if I move the ball further forward, then that will stop the ball going right. It should 100%. But what it's naturally going to do, if we now move the ball position here, the arc of the swing is going left. The more it's going left, what am I going to do with the club face? It's now I'm going to open the club face up. I'm going to create much more of a slice. So we want that ball position to be a lot more central in the stance. Even with a hybrid, just slightly forward of center would be good. But the further forward you have it, naturally the swing is going to the left of target. What are you going to do? You're going to open that club face up. So there's a lot of the faults. There are the things that I see, and that's not even touching your golf swing. But I'll guarantee that if you improve those four areas, the aim of the club, the grip, ball position and body alignment, you get those four things in a better place, the chances are your swing's going to be in a better place. So that gives you an opportunity to get the results you want. But now what we've got to talk about is, what do I see on the golf course? It's always an interesting thing. Having worked on a driving range for 28 years and then going to the golf course, I would say on average, most people hit their golf ball further on the driving range than they do on the golf course. And that's down to one thing. We want to hit the ball straight. When we're on the driving range and we've got 50 goes, we don't tend to worry too much about it, and we relax and we start to get a lot better shots and we get a lot more distance. As soon as we walk onto the golf course, we become probably a little bit anxious, a little bit more under control of what we're doing. And what I see then with the golf swing is I see people swinging too much what I call down the line. And what that causes then is a lack of power and also a lack of rotation of the club face. And golfers then tend to push the face through, which again opens the face up. So we get a much weaker shot and it goes out to the right. Now, for me, the biggest thing with golf is get as much power as you can physically achieve. Okay, as much as a lot of my lessons about data and understanding what to do to get the results you want, I would never stop a golfer if they've got power. I would never reduce that power. I would want to use that and maximize it, because then they could achieve their full results. But a golf swing is very much around a rotary movement. It's the swing around your body. If you watch something like Rory McIlroy hit a golf ball, everything for me is rotary. Everything is rotating around his body. And I've always used the analogy, it's a little bit like, well, you've got to think your golf swing is like the tire on your car. Okay, it's round, you can generate speed. And your golf swing needs to be round. If we put square tires on your car, it would need a lot of energy to hit that ball. So relative to my target line, and I see this all the time, people on the golf course out here, it looks as if they're trying to swing down the line. They're trying to hit that way through the ball. But when you watch somebody like a McIlroy, everything is rotating around their body. And the rotation is what creates the power, but also that rotation is going to increase the chance that now the club face is going to come back in a square position. And that's the important thing. You want to get that club face back square and trust it. So the more that you're looking at it and you look at those setup points and your swing is now coming into the golf ball this way, you're naturally going to open the face up. It's a very weak position. That's why slices go a lot shorter than draws. Okay, that's a big thing to understand. A drawing swing is much more the rotation. So when you watch McIlroy hit the ball, everything is rotating through that ball. And that's the image I need you to have. So when we go back to our target line here, let's look at the swing. If I've now got number 1, a square club face, 2, a neutral grip, 3, my alignment is square, my ball position is correct, what do I want to achieve? Well, you'll see as I swing the club back, the natural arc of the swing is coming back very quickly. Within that first half of the swing is coming inside the white line. Okay, and that's correct. That's what we want it to do. Because now what I want to deliver is the club face back to the ball, back on that line. Okay, what I don't want to do in any shot is feel like when I'm hitting one with power, I want to go back along that line. The straighter I go back, the less power I've got. Okay, the straighter I go back, what am I going to do in my swing? I'm going to then try and come down more powerfully from out here, and then guess what I'm doing? I'm coming across the ball. We're making that swing that's going left. What do I have to do? I have to open the club face to stop it going left. There's my spin. There's my spin axis causing the slice. So I need that club face and me to work in harmony together. I think that's the important thing. That's what I want you to start thinking. So the way I look at it, every degree my golf club, the angle of the shaft, let's turn it this way so you can see a little bit better. If I was this way, every degree that golf club starts to go. So if I stop the swing there, the shaft has moved, it looks like around about 25 degrees. The club face should have done the same. That club face should not be looking at the target. Okay? And then if I come back, they'll have both rotated back 25 degrees. And if I was to continue on 25 degrees that way, the club face now would be pointing 25 degrees left of the target. But remember, I've already hit the ball. I do not want the club face looking at the target here, because the chances are if we've now got a rotary movement and I'm trying to keep it square after the ball, we rotate back. Look where the club face is pointing. We do that now from that position, from there, and I rotate back. It's going to be there. If I'm trying to be square there, rotate back to where I'm going to hit the ball. Look where it's pointing. So the golf swing is a big circle. Okay, and I think that's really, really important to understand. And you can go and look at my guaranteed how to draw the ball video to show you how to get the draw. And that will probably be, the way I look at it again, I don't want to really say to you, this is how you stop the slice. Think about, how do I create the correct swing? If you're walking to the golf hole thinking, how do I stop this from happening? The chances are you're now visualizing what you don't want. And the end result will be a poor shot. So please find a video or a coach who will tell you what you need to achieve. If he keeps telling you what not to do, you're visualizing the wrong thing. Find something that says, right, this is very clear in my mind. Biggest thing for me is clarity of thought. To hit the straight shot or the drawing shot, they're closer to each other. My natural swing, if I'm looking for that neutral swing, you can see I come back inside the line, and then the swing works around that, and it comes back down, and then I rotate through. Everything rotating around that point. We've mentioned the faults. The faults are coming across the ball. We're opening the club face up. Understand that's what you're doing. So even if you go, I mean, this is probably the simplest drill I do with my golfers, is if I said to you, forget you've got a golf club in your hand and swing the club like a baseball bat around your body, you would naturally rotate. Then do the same from a square position with the club face. Forget the square position, just let it rotate. And you'd be amazed how often you'll come back to that square position. But as soon as you try to get it square, and you're now trying to be perfect, the likelihood is that club face is going to be more open than anywhere else. You're going to lose power because you're pushing the club down the line. So use that drill. Very simple drill. Let's just go through it again. All we're doing, swinging it like a baseball bat. Swing it around your body. And all you're doing differently in baseball to golf, baseball player's here, a golfer now is at an angle this way, and he's just pivoting around that position. But if you can go to the practice ground and just imagine you're swinging it like a baseball bat, I'll guarantee you'll start to hit far more drawing shots than you would slicing shots. If you want to get rid of that slice, that's the way to do it. So as I said earlier, please have a look at my videos, and if you are enjoying this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, but look at the one that says guaranteed draw. We talk a little bit about, again, I always look at it, we're in the UK here, but I always think the kids in America have got a much better chance because what they do is they play baseball. And one of the things they do, they play a shot off a tee, practicing how to hit with a baseball bat. And the tee is up here. What are you going to do? You're going to create that movement. Now in my video, it talks about hitting the ball off a tee and off an uphill lie is easier to create a drawing shot. You think about it, when the ball is above your feet, you always do that. Ball below your feet, the swing gets steeper. If you tend to do anything, you pull it or slice it. So any Americans watching this and you want somebody to be good at golf, and if you're sort of used to be a baseball player and you've got it in the garage, go and get that tee out again. Hit some baseballs, because you'll be amazed how that will help you. Okay, it will make the swing feel that rotary movement. It will make it feel powerful. And then just trust it. Get those 4 neutral positions: club face, grip, ball position, body alignment, and then feel that swing is working more of a rotation around your body. If you do that, that slice will start to disappear. I'll guarantee that. But you've got to start with the basics. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. It's sort of explaining, for me, what causes the slice. So understand it's the ball with that spin axis curving away to the right as a right-handed golfer, how the club face is doing that, and what could be causing it, whether it is your club face, your grip, your body alignment, ball position, or it could be something in the swing. And then use the ideas that we've shown you. Understand that golf club has to keep rotating around your body if you want to maximize power. If you've got the opportunity, or you can visualize it, think of the baseball idea. Or go and practice shots with the ball above your feet. It'll make the swing shallower, it'll make it work more around your body, and you'll start to see that slice disappear. And you never know, if you've never drawn a ball, you might start to see a few draws. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please share it with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you soon.